Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Oh, my very dear ones, welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes and I'm delighted, purely delighted that you're with us today. Oh, my wonderful friends, we are born on this earth in order to learn two great spiritual lessons. First, we're born to learn to love ever more perfectly, and second, we're born to learn to forgive ever more completely. Yes, to forgive completely. No matter whatever might be done to us, our task is to forgive everything, no matter what. Oh, my dearly beloved friends, learning forgiveness and love very well they're truly, they're what life is all about. That's it. And it was not until just a few years ago that we found a real forgiveness expert who taught forgiveness so well that I thought we ought to make her our Seek Reality guru of forgiveness. And she is today's guest, now and with us for the 9th time. Until we found our beautiful friend, Brenda, we actually were in a situation where we had to talk about A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles is hard. It was channeled by Jesus in the 1960s, and he channeled it because he thought we just weren't getting the Bible. So he channeled a book which is very hard for us to understand. He taught us, though, that forgiveness is a miracle and that all miracles come in the same size. Everything, he said, can be forgiven. And that's, frankly, for most of us, that's hard. People tell me all the time, well, I can forgive this, but I can't forgive that. And actually, they do all come in one size. Everything that's done to us can be forgiven. We just have to learn to do it right. And our guest who is with us today for the 9th time is Brenda Reiss. Brenda is dedicated to helping people overcome obstacles that hold them back from living life to its fullest. Only by learning how to forgive everything can you free yourself. And that is profoundly true. Our dear friend Brenda teaches us her 5-step forgiveness process. She tells us that self-forgiveness helped her to transition out of victimhood and into a life that she was meant to live. She has experienced life's obstacles firsthand. In fact, we were talking about some of her obstacles before we even went on the air. I mean, she doesn't look it, but she's had some hard things happen to her. She's had toxic relationships, eating disorders, anxiety, all things that can consume a life if let them do that. But nope, not Brenda. She has learned how to forgive everything, and she has developed a very successful practice in coaching forgiveness. She's written a terrific little book which is called Forgive. I mean, what else would you call it? It's brief, it's easy to understand. I think everybody ought to read her book. Oh, my dear Brenda, welcome. I'm so happy you're with us today.
Thank you, Roberta. I'm so happy to be here. Every time I just hear your voice or see you, it just makes me so happy.
Oh, aren't you glad? You are so delightful. I feel the same way every time I see you, but every time I see you, I think, how come I get older, but you never do, my darling. You never ever do.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel older, I'll tell you.
No, you are truly a delight to know.
Thank you.
I mean, I know that your life has not been easy, but look at you. You are just a fount of energy, a fount of delight. Now, tell us a little bit about how you came to understand that you had to learn to forgive.
Well, I was just talking with a friend the other day about that. It's like, how do we get our philosophies of life, or how do we get how we look at life, right? And it
Mhm.
was like, did someone tell me something? Did I learn something? And I couldn't remember. All I know is that throughout my whole life, there's this knowingness of that I can get through things, and there's a reason that they're happening. Like the old saying of there's a gift in everything. Nobody really likes to hear that, yet that was what a principle, I guess I'll call it, that I've lived by. Now sometimes it's kicking and screaming through the experience, right? Yet there's always been this way of, and I don't even really know, like I don't know where I got this from or how I learned it, but there was always something that I've done. And that I think I attest to faith, right? When I look back at my life, I attest it to a belief in something bigger than myself.
Yes.
Because otherwise I couldn't have gotten through some of these things. And I didn't know I was living a life of forgiveness, right? Of needing to forgive. Yet I lived most of my life was very codependent and people pleasing. That's how, and I think quite a few people can relate to this. And especially as women, we learn early on how to do that,
Oh, sure. Oh,
right?
sure. Yep.
And I was even listening to a gal about the brain, and she was saying that by the time boys and girls, like if you ask the boy and girl at 9 years old, what do they want? They will both tell you. When you ask them at 11, they will both tell you what they want, whether it's food or whatever. At 13 or about this age, a boy will go, I want this. And the girl will go, well, what is it you want?
Yes.
So there's our brains change. One, we go relational, women do. But two, we also have learned by then that I have to please other people to get the
Yes.
love that I need, right? These beliefs. And it just kind of broke my heart a little bit. On one
Oh,
hand, I'm
sure.
yeah, I'm glad that we're relational. Yet on the other hand, it's like, wow, no wonder, we have like harder time going through life and expressing what we want and what we need. We kind of put our
Yeah.
wants and needs aside for other people. And that's what I did. And I learned early on through different traumas, through different abuses and different experiences that to be safe, I needed to be invisible. And to be also safe, I needed to please others. What did they want? How can I be what they need
Yep.
versus what I needed? And that took
Right.
me through several marriages. I call myself a relationship expert now because I've gone through
And that's learning relationships the hard way.
the hard way after
I,
my third
oh
divorce.
no.
After my third divorce, it was like, huh, huh, I'm the common denominator here.
Right.
So I
Oh
think
dear.
I think I need to stop a minute and take a look
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when I noticed. That's what kind of brought me into the forgiveness work was I noticed I'm the common denominator in these relationships. The guys were all kind of similar. They look different. I called it same content, different package. Because everything was the same, but they looked different. And that's when I started going, huh. And it was through this forgiveness work that I found a belief that I had really grabbed onto earlier on in life that kept showing up for me in all my relationships.
Oh my dear. I
Yeah.
am so sorry. That's so much work.
It's
Oh,
it's a lot. And we just think that's how life is, right? This is how it's supposed to be until
oh
we realize like we don't know what we don't know, right? And and until I realize, oh, I don't have to continue to have relationships like that.
no.
I don't.
Oh my dear.
Yeah.
Well, I've just had one, but I had
Oh.
to really do a lot of work on actually on myself. He hasn't changed at all.
Right, right. That's what the funny part is. I know. Yep,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
got
I've
you.
been married now for 53 years and
Oh,
but I had to remake myself quite a bit before I figured out how to be a good wife. But I did figure it out. Eventually
yeah.
I did.
Oh, I know it was so funny. I spent quite a few years drinking, and when I got sober, yeah, oh yeah, there was 20 years in there. I had a little alcohol issue going on, and
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So when I got sober, it was so funny because, he was the bad guy. My ex-husband was the third one. Well, they all were, but the third one, right? So I'm learning that it's not about really them, it's about me, but I'm just starting my journey at that time. So it's like, wow, he's really hard to get along with, and he's angry all the time, and he's this and he's that. I get sober and oh, he's kind of nice. That's weird. It
Once,
was me.
once you got sober, he became nice.
Yeah.
What
So
a
I
revelation that
What
is.
a revelation. So it was kind of like, oh, it wasn't about him. It was, it was about me. Not that he didn't have his own issues. I want to say that. Not that he didn't have his own, but wow, things calmed down a lot in our household when I got sober. Yeah, that was my first awakening to, oh, it is about
Yeah,
me, not
yeah.
others, and that really ties into the principles of the forgiveness work that I love so much, which is all relationships are for growth and healing, and life is a mirror. It's a mirror for me.
Yes. Oh my word. After you sobered up, he became a lot nicer. I could remember that. That's a great
Yeah,
story.
yeah, it changed. It changed our whole household. Huh. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, my husband is a Catholic, so he told me after we got married that we couldn't get divorced because he was a Catholic. I said, "Oh, oh dear, then we'd better make this a pretty good marriage if we can't get divorced. We better try harder than most people do."
That's
But we
good.
did. It really actually, that's a good thing to tell one another right at the start. There's no way out, so we'd better kind of make this a pretty good one.
I really like that because then you kind of at least get on the same page, right?
Yeah, yeah, we better try harder on this one. And we thought we were gonna have to try.
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
okay, we're going to be stuck with each other, so let's make it good then. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it actually did work out. I mean, it worked out pretty well right from the start, actually. But it, I don't even know. It's funny. Forgiveness is something which marriage really needs
Oh, yes. Yes.
more than anything else. It needs forgiveness of him and forgiveness of yourself, so you can try harder the next morning. It really does require that.
Well, and yes, it does. And that's what I learned. It's not just constant compromising, right?
And also, the first 25 years are the hardest. After that, it gets a lot easier. But I was in a beauty shop one day getting my hair done, and there was a woman next to me, a woman. She was a very young girl, and she told me she was about to get married, and she was all excited. I said, "Well, I wish you well. I mean, I've been married for 25, 26, 27 years it had been then." And I said, "I'm going to tell you, the first 25 years are the hardest. After that, it gets," and that's not the right thing to tell to someone who's just about to get married.
No, that seems
I
forever.
still remember the look on her face. But it's true. After that, it gets so much easier because by then you've made every possible mistake and you don't have to make it again. You really sort of get pretty much settled into the marriage after
See, that
that.
was my problem. I never made it that far in each one. If I
So
add them all together, then maybe. That's it. I needed you to tell me that back then.
I should have sat down next to you when I was in
Yes,
that beauty shop.
exactly. And then
You'd
I
have taken
listened
that to heart. Oh, well, it hasn't been 25 years yet, so I better stick with it now.
there. See, we would plant a seed and then I go, oh, I could keep going on
Yeah,
this one.
you could stick with this one. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh
oh
my,
my goodness.
oh
Yeah.
my dear. That
But
they,
it's true.
but
And we have to
but
laugh.
serious, but yes, but seriously, forgiveness really is the secret to so many of the relationships that we have.
Yeah.
We always think, I don't have to forgive. I can just move on to the next relationship.
Mm,
Whether it's with a man, whether it's with a friend, whoever it's with.
yes.
But once you learn to forgive, you understand you don't need to do that. In fact, if that's what you're doing, you're never going to have a good relationship because
Yeah.
every relationship is there for us to learn to forgive and then to grow from that relationship, from that experience. That's what's beautiful about life. Every relationship that we have is given to us as a glorious opportunity to learn how to forgive.
Hmm. Most definitely.
That's how we grow.
Well, well, there's, yeah, because there's only so much. Because after that third divorce, and when I finally realized, oh, I probably should look at myself, and I
Yes.
started doing the work, there's
Yes.
only so much you can do on your own. Right? So there's a lot of internal work. Like I identified patterns and beliefs, and I got to know what my values were, and I got to actually know what I like because I spent a good part of my adulthood caring about everybody else and really being able to stand up for myself. So I did that. But then there's this piece that they don't tell you is that you got to practice, right?
Yeah.
What you've learned. And that's where relationships come in. So
Yeah.
you're not a silo, you're not by yourself. Like we can continue to work on our own. And this is what I found working with a lot of single women was that where they're going, I don't need to go through that again. I don't want my heart broken. I don't want to do this. And it's like, yes, but we can't grow and expand more into love unless we're in relationship with
Yeah.
people to be able to have them kind of rub up against our edges to go, ooh, where am I at with this feeling or this thought or this behavior? And
Yes.
then where can I grow more?
Yes. Yes.
Right? And that we can't do it alone. We can only do so much alone. And we need others, whether it's like you said, friendships or colleagues or coworkers or whoever.
Yes.
We need that. And especially in intimate or romantic relationships,
Yeah.
because they get us right down. I mean, like that saying, pressing our buttons is real, right? And they're supposed to.
And if you look at your husband and he looks at you and we say, there can't be a divorce. We
Mhm.
can't have it because he was a devout Catholic. And I tried Catholicism for him. Because it
Yeah.
was so important to him.
Yeah.
I did the conversion. Didn't stick, but it stuck for a while.
Yeah.
And so, okay, we can't get divorced. And we each of us promised, I won't be the one who files. And he said, well, I'm certainly not going to be the one who files. Okay, so that's a deal. And
Yeah.
we did that on the plane on the way home after we had to go back. He was still in the army. He served in Vietnam and served in Vietnam is kind of a he didn't really serve in Vietnam because he was a doctor and did, they called it the berry plan. You finish, a certain amount of your training and then you'll go to Vietnam, but you're going as a doctor. That means you get
Oh,
a chauffeur and he'll drive you around Saigon in your Jeep. So it's not really like,
oh,
but when he was making his tapes and sending them to me, he did it from the roof of his barracks, and I could hear the shooting. And I said,
mhm.
"Where the heck are you? And why am I
Yeah.
hearing shooting?" He said, "Oh, that's far away." No, it wasn't far away. It was very close.
Yeah.
Oh, Vietnam was never a good idea. Whose idea was that? It was a horrible idea. But
Right.
anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um, But when he came home, we got married, and it was a forever marriage because neither of us was going to be the one to do it. And so, darn it, no matter
Yeah.
how mad we got, we never ever filed. And if that's the decision you make when you get married, in the beginning, there's some fights, but you can't file. That's it. You can't file. And if you make that decision, you learn how to forgive because otherwise you have some lousy breakfast the next morning and you don't want
Oh,
that. You quickly learn you don't want that. So you learn to forgive the night before you go to bed.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
yell, you forgive, you go to bed, and you wake up cheerful the next morning. You learn to do that pretty quickly.
Well, I think it's important too. I love that. You know, the where I used to hear all the time, don't go to bed angry, right?
You can't. You
You have
can't if
terrible,
there's
well,
no possibility of a divorce. That's it.
well, no, because you get terrible sleep too when you go to bed angry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yet
You
the other,
quickly learn. Yeah,
right. And the one thing that I wish I would have learned on top of that, like kind of making an agreement together, right? And I finally got that by this marriage, by the fourth marriage. I finally
you're in your
got it.
fourth marriage,
Yes.
right?
I got this one. And that's what and it was right up front that I talked with him about it. It was right up front that I set boundaries. It was right up front about myself, like my needs, my wants, asking his. And just saying, when I was dating, it's like, I'm not looking at to just have fun. I am looking for a partner who's serious and will stay in this with me to
Yes,
work through it and not walk away. But
yes,
it took me all that time to be able to figure that out. But, and he's like, oh, thank goodness you said that because now I know I don't have to guess. You know, that's what I want too. But he was always afraid to like say anything to
yeah.
people,
I think
right?
everybody should say that. Everybody
I,
should say, I'm committed. This is it. I don't care if it's your first marriage. It was for us. It
oh,
was our first marriage,
absolutely. Especially in the first marriage. It's like that's how
especially.
you learn, especially in the first marriage,
Yeah.
because maybe there won't be any more, maybe after that. If you answer, it was like when I was doing the forgiveness training, there's a portion of this called expanding into love.
Hmm.
And in this expanding into love portion, it was about that. It was learning how to ask the questions up front.
Yes.
You know that a lot of that's one thing about the Catholic faith that they do when you go for those counseling, the premarital counseling, and they have you take these tests and you ask each other these questions, or at least they did back when, because I converted to Catholicism for a guy, because that's what I thought that we would get married if I did that. It was, yeah, it was not good.
Oh, oh,
It
oh,
didn't.
our priest was certain, the one who married us, he was certain we were not going to stay married.
Wow.
Because I didn't really he knew I was faking my conversion. He knew I was never
Oh,
going to stay Catholic, which I
yeah.
never did. But that didn't it didn't matter, did it? It didn't matter. Nothing mattered because we were not going to divorce. But
Right.
if you decide we're in this to win it, we are not
Yeah.
going to if everyone who got married said that. Everybody nowadays seems to think, well, we'll give it a try, and if it doesn't work, we can always get divorced. Everyone thinks that now. That's
Yeah.
so foolish because you're marrying with one foot outside the marriage. If
Correct.
you're not going to stay in it, then
Well,
that's
you're
so
not able
silly.
to actually grow into who you truly are either.
Yeah,
Because
which
when,
is what
because
we had to do inside the marriage. Yes,
there you
and
go.
there's a lot of growing that happens
Yes.
in that marriage. I mean,
Yep.
I married a doctor who went to Vietnam, and he was a doctor for quite a long while. But he gradually came to hate being a doctor.
Mm.
So one day I became the one who said to him, long before the children were fully raised, well, they were pretty much raised, but they still had to go to college. They still had, we had a lot of things still to pay for. But one
Yeah.
day I said to him, hey, you know what? If you were sitting beside your mother, who was not getting good medical care then, she was pretty old, if you were sitting beside her, I bet you'd get better care. And he said, well, who's going to, pay for stuff? I said, I'm a lawyer. I'll support us. That was a hard thing for me to say.
Yeah.
But one day I did, and he retired right then. He was only 55.
Wow.
But that's one of the things you say when you both have committed to one another and you've been married for 35 years and you decide that's it, I'm not going to watch him struggle with hating being a doctor anymore. So he
No,
retired then. And you know what? I did make enough money for the next 20 years and we were fine. Put
that
the
was
kids through
really
college.
courageous and loving of you.
But you can do that kind of thing when you know he's in it too.
Well,
If
you
he
want
had to go
to
back to
then.
work, he would have
Yeah.
done it. But fortunately, I was doing well enough. We didn't have to do that. We had
Well,
saved enough money. We didn't have to do that.
and having that choice is beautiful. And that's how that's a part of knowing each other, right? And really caring for each other because
That's a real
it's
marriage.
it is, and it's a really good relationship because what you've done is you love each other enough and like each other enough to be able to say, wait, you're hurting,
Mhm.
you're miserable, and so what are our other options? And I think that until we know ourselves, like you knew enough, you're like, no, I can do this. We'll
And
figure
his
out a
mother
way.
was getting terrible medical care. But you know what? When a doctor, who was also her son, was sitting right next to her every time she went to the doctor, she
Yeah.
lived for 5 more years.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have lived for 5 more years if he hadn't, and into her 90s, if he hadn't been sitting right next to her. So,
Well, yeah, and he was able to do that, which was
that's
really
right.
good. And that's just it, is having these conversations and making agreements. There's nothing, so many people get into relationship with unspoken agreements. We
Hmm.
each come into the relationship based on what we've grown up with,
Yeah,
right? What we've witnessed. And a lot of times we've witnessed not really healthy relationships. So
yeah.
what you're doing is you're bringing in, you're thinking, you know what a relationship should be like, what a loving relationship, what commitment means, what intimacy is.
Hmm.
And intimacy, and through my training, we learned intimacy is into me see.
Yeah,
I have to be willing, excuse me, to let someone see inside me.
yeah.
That's a part of a commitment to a relationship, a commitment to myself and a commitment to someone else. You can't get that. And a lot of people don't do this because we don't know how to look into our own selves, let alone let somebody else see the real me. So
Hmm.
I'd imagine after 53 years, you guys have learned through this process, you had to let each other see each other, all of
Yeah,
the good stuff, the not good stuff, and that's the important piece of growth. That's what we're here for,
yeah.
is to be
That's
able
right.
to do
That's
that.
yes,
And
yes.
most people cannot they think intimacy is sex. It's not.
Oh
That's a
no,
physical
not at
act.
all. Yes.
Right? And so intimacy is so much deeper than that. And that's what really keeps us out of relationships or in and out of relationships, right? Because that's
Hmm.
what it was for me when I discovered that I didn't even know how I was going to, how I know, how would I let anybody else know me if I didn't know myself? And I would jump from relationship to relationship. I always called it I had someone waiting in the wings, right? Because
Yeah.
I would go from one to the other because it was based on how I felt about me, not even about them,
Yes. Yes.
which was powerful. I couldn't make an agreement with myself, let alone, if things started to get hard, I had my running shoes on. Because I didn't know how to sit through the pain,
Yeah.
or the emotional tug of, and I never had a partner that was willing to sit with me, right?
Yeah.
Until this fourth marriage. And that was after a lot of internal work, and then a lot of just like getting to this point of going, no, I want it to be different. I want to experience love in a different way, and I want to experience love for myself and a partner. And having him be willing to not run at the same time was really valuable.
Yeah,
And then,
you can't trust your spouse If you and your spouse have not made that vow,
Yeah.
whatever happens, I will not be the one who files for divorce. And he says, whatever happens, I will not be the one.
Right.
If you each say that and you make that vow, that's the vow. That's the vow we made on the plane as we were flying back to Washington because we had to go back because he was, we were not then, but we later went on our honeymoon. But that's it. That
Yeah.
was the real vow. That's the real vow that you make. I'm not filing. If you file, I can't keep you from doing it, but I won't be the one.
Yeah.
And that's still holding. Well, we would never certainly never divorce now. But
Yeah.
I mean now it's very precious. I mean, if after 25 it gets really good, wow, after 50 it's really good.
That's
Marriage is a
amazing.
joy, a pure joy every day.
Well, and there was a lot of growth and understanding and compassion, and you learned all those things together,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I know it wasn't all roses for you, but even if the partner agrees with you, there's still ups and downs. There's still life. You have
There
kids, you have
after
jobs.
25 years it really got to be more and more ups. I mean, you start to trust each other like a rock, and then you start to really, I mean, it's the kind of relationship that teaches you so much. I mean, people who don't stick with that marriage and grow in that marriage really miss a lot of growth,
So
personal
what
growth.
kind of growth did you have in the first 25 years?
You learn to really trust because in the beginning you still don't trust,
Mm,
but you start to trust more, and then by the end of the first 25 years, you have really learned to trust another adult human being. Even though you don't always agree with one another, you start to learn to nevertheless trust. And sometimes that trust means that you have to trust his instincts about things that you don't always agree with
mm,
because you're raising children, you may be moving. Sometimes you don't really want to agree on something,
yeah.
but it's very important to him. Okay, I'm going to start by the end of even 15 or 20 years. Okay, I'm going to be willing to do what he wants because I see how important it is to him. And then you see he's doing the same thing sometimes. That's very important to her. Okay, I agree. We can do that.
Did your communication get deeper and
Yeah, it gets
like you
much deeper.
shared things with each other
Toward
that
the
you
end of
didn't?
the 25 years,
Yeah,
much deeper. Yeah,
yeah. Did you
because
have?
there's nuances that he picks up that he
Right.
didn't pick up in the beginning or that I pick up from him. And like when it was finally time for him to quit practicing medicine, I could tell he was at the end of his rope.
Mm,
He couldn't really do it anymore. And I could see why he couldn't do it anymore. And
hmm.
and I also knew that I mean his mother was very important to him. And I could see that it was troubling to him that he wasn't there when she needed his help.
Mm,
And I wanted him to be there. And so I was
yeah,
willing to try it. It was a little scary, I have to admit.
yeah.
Suddenly to be the breadwinner when we had had a very major breadwinner that I was trying to replace. But I did it. And I managed to do it. I still don't know how, but I managed to do it.
I love that. And I would imagine, and this is another part of forgiveness too, is the communication. Right? The communication that has to take place, and communication being on both sides, being
Hmm.
willing not only to make the vow of we're not getting divorced, but to take the action steps to be able to live lovingly in this marriage versus just putting up with each other. Because my grandparents were like that. They were married a long time, but they didn't really like each other.
Hmm.
So, they just didn't get divorced because they weren't supposed to. But they, it was not fun to see them together. They were miserable.
Oh
So
no, I was
there,
never, yeah, we were
right.
never miserable, but we were,
Right. That's what I'm saying is like with
yeah,
communication, with the ability to to understand that each person is different and to
yeah.
really be curious about what are their beliefs, what are their values, what is making him make these decisions or what is having me make my decisions. When you get like that, I think that's what keeps you going is the curiosity around huh, what makes me love this person? And especially because you guys changed a lot, even in the first 25 years.
Oh yeah, yeah, we each changed. But the thing was that it was more, this is our shared nest. It's not a big nest. And therefore, since we have to share this nest, we want to make it a nice nest. And so therefore, we're trying to make each other happy because I want his moods to be happy moods.
Mhm.
He wants my moods to be happy moods. And therefore he wants to paint the nest with pretty colors. And do you see what I mean? You don't want the other person to be unhappy because that would make the nest unhappy. I think that when people know that this is going to be their life together, they try to make the other person feel happy. I mean, he used to always um, try to understand what I wanted for a birthday, for an anniversary, whatever, and then get me that, buy me that,
Mhm.
make a nice anniversary dinner of some sort, or take us out to some place he knew I would like, because each of us wanted the other to feel special, to feel wanted, to feel,
Mhm.
and I think that's part of what made the things important, made our like marriage feel special. I don't know. I mean, it was never just, it never felt anything but special to us, what we were living in.
Do you think that happens a lot, or do you think that's more rare in
I don't know.
marriages?
I've never thought about that really,
Yeah.
but I do think, I do think that we wanted each other to be happy, and since we really were trying to make our marriage happy and make our marriage work.
Mm.
We liked each other. We didn't just love each other.
Right. That's the important piece too, because I think
Yeah.
it's that the liking each other that gets you through the rough times,
Mm, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, yeah, I love you, but I don't like you right now. Right.
Yeah. No, we always really did like each other. And we do now. I mean, it's I don't know how this got to be about my marriage, but it's
Who knows? But I think marriage, I think it was about relationships, right? And
yes.
relationships is
Love
really
what you said.
important.
I love oh, and then I realized that it was my drinking that was the problem after 20 years.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Oh, oh, that was
Yeah. The
really
household calmed down. It was really fascinating. Hmm. And it was a
partly
real big aha to me.
because I know you and you were just as sweet and lovely as you could possibly be. And then you say something like that. It was so funny. Oh
Yeah.
my. Oh, that was really funny.
Well, and that's working through things. I mean, there's things like that in marriages, right? And in relationships that have to do with the forgiveness, right? Because
Mhm.
part of the process of getting sober was making amends, and he didn't, because when I was drinking, it got to the point where I was not nice. I was so emotionally I had a lot of things that I had not addressed yet emotionally, so they would come out when I was drinking, and they didn't come out in a very nice way. And so he took the brunt of a lot of that, right? So it took him a while to forgive me.
Yeah.
And all I could do was stay consistent. I followed through with what I said I was going to do. I didn't expect him to forgive me right away or anyone. Because that's, I think, is the key of forgiveness too, is consistency, is behavior.
Hmm.
When we're forgiving behaviors, it's important to be able to not expect someone to understand it right away, but just keep doing your work. Just put one step in front of the other and just get it done. That's what I had to do, because everybody's got a story.
That's
Everybody
true.
has, they do. We've got things that a lot of people don't know, and then they come out like this in these conversations, right?
Oh my goodness, yes.
You
That's
know,
for sure.
but it was my whole journey around that was really learning to forgive myself,
Yes.
because it really wasn't about him. It was about me, and it was learning that my first addiction was codependency. And when I started to really look at the codependency, that's what kept me from showing up in my light, it for myself. And that helped me today. Doing all this work around that has helped me be a better person in relationship, because now I'm not afraid to be seen. Just like you and your husband, you weren't afraid to be seen. And in doing that, you make each other feel special. You actually don't look at that, what he's doing wrong. You probably look through a lens of, okay, that might irritate me, but what is he doing right? Right? I mean, what is he doing that I can actually appreciate?
Oh, I've always been so proud of him. Always.
Mm.
I've always thought he was very special.
Which
I've
I
always,
think is amazing.
I've always felt lucky to be married to him.
Oh,
And I think that if you can find things, and I guess I'm talking to the audience now, if you can find things about your spouse that are special and wonderful, and that everyone has things like that, and if you can then feel lucky to be married to that person, build
yeah.
those things up. Because I realized that's what I was doing quite consciously. I was always aware that he was never going to file, and I knew that was true about him. He's anything. He's the most honest person I've ever known. He was going to stick to that no matter what. So, and he was trying hard to be a good husband too, in the way that he understood a good husband to be, because he didn't have great role models.
Mm.
So he was doing his best. Even if it wasn't a perfect best, it was a good best. And I think that if you look at your spouse that way, you can make your spouse seem even better than the spouse is. And so then you want to actually make yourself seem better and be better. Be your best. Then both of you are starting to be your best. And that, you kind of get into a very good spiral that way.
Well, I think it's true. When we hold someone, you hear like somebody say when they get in a relationship, this other person, she or he makes me want to be my best.
Yes,
Right?
that's what you
That's
do.
that's a mute that's what I call a mutuality. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm trying to make myself better for that person. It's like, no, there's something about this person that really has me inspired to
Yeah, it
be
brings
my
out the
best and
best in
do
me.
my best. Yes, to
Yeah.
bring out the best. And then when we see that in other people, like even the kids, when you point out to the kids the things you appreciate, not what they've done wrong, but it's
No,
like, oh,
right.
I love how you do that. They
Yes,
just brighten up, and I
that's
watch that.
exactly right.
And I and the same
That's
thing
it.
for adults. Same thing
That's
for
it.
adults.
That's right. That's right. That's beautiful. Exactly right. And you know something, we've come to the end
Oh,
of our time with this. We never didn't even talk much about forgiveness. I just want to
oh, we
recommend
did,
your
I think. I think we did.
quite a bit,
Yeah,
actually.
I think so too.
Yeah. And forgiving ourselves for everything that we ever have known that we didn't do quite right. Forgive yourself for all of that, and then you can be your own best self too.
Yeah.
Let yourself forgive yourself, excuse yourself, and shine as brightly as you can shine. Because if you do that, then you are going to be your own best self.
Yeah.
And this beautiful book you wrote for, read her book for Forgive
Forgive,
because
yeah.
that then you'll be ready for her next book, which is in the hopper, as I understand
It's
it.
in the hopper, yes.
So then we'll have another book. And we're going to have you back sooner because this has been wonderful fun. I so enjoyed talking to you, and you always get me laughing so hard, which I just
Good.
really, really love. What do you want people to take away from our conversation?
I want people to take away the fact that when they're willing to see inside themselves, when they're really willing to know themselves, then that's going to help them feel better and be better. And then that's going to also help whoever they're in relationship want to be better too.
Oh, that's beautifully said, my dear. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Now, just stay just for a minute. I just want to tell everyone who our guest is next week. And I will be right back. Oh, hasn't this been so much fun? Oh, so beautiful. What a lovely person she is. Oh, so once again, my darling friends, we've come to the end of our time together, and this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today, but please never forget, even for a moment, even when we're apart, that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began and you never will end. And when you get that, and all the implications of that fact, wow, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be Master Nick Eagle. He'll be with us for the second time. Now, Nick Eagle is an enlightened master, but kind of a funny one. But he's far from the mold of a quiet Buddhist or a Hindu guru. His fierceness in his mission has led him to stand out away from the traditional image of a teacher and a master. His approach to bringing people to enlightenment is a rigorous adherence to the principles he espouses in his book, Golden Laws of Enlightenment. It's a demanding of fealty to one's highest self, resisting the temptation to believe or to indulge in anything that does not serve us. And he has a PhD in philosophy. He's also a certified yoga and meditation teacher, a Reiki and Kundalini master, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And he has world titles, believe it or not, in that. And Nick teaches people how to be spiritual warriors at his Eagle Vortex Sanctuary in Sedona, Arizona. I think you're going to find him fascinating. So please be sure to join us next week. And this week, we've been talking with Brenda Reiss, Seek Reality's wonderful guru of gratitude, who has been with us for the ninth time. Now, Brenda is dedicated to helping people overcome obstacles that hold them back from living life to its fullest. In her successful coaching practice, she guides people through a five-step forgiveness process that's easy to understand, it's easy to learn. Brenda says that self-forgiveness originally helped her to transition out of victimhood and into the life that she was meant to live. And it can help to do the same for you. She has written a nifty book. I think I got the title wrong. Here it's called Forgive Yourself. What is the title, Brenda?
Yeah, it is forgive yourself.
Forgive Yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I had just written it wrong before. It's short and it's easy to understand, and I think everybody should read it. Brenda says that the first thing we have to understand is that people who wrong us really don't care whether we ever forgive them. They think that's on you. So forgiving others is a gift that we give to ourselves. And frankly, I think forgiving ourselves for things that we sort of think we did wrong is one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves. Our dear Brenda helps us to understand that forgiveness of everyone, including ourselves, is a powerful gift that keeps on giving because it frees us and it empowers us. So everybody, oh my goodness, whenever I have you as a guest, my darling friend, I spend the whole rest of my day just going around smiling. I think maybe I had to just invite you to come and live next door, and then I'd be smiling all the time. So, so nevertheless, it's just so good to see you here, and we'll have to do this soon.
Yes. I'd
Thank you,
love it.
thank you, and just thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Roberta.
Meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy, please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being and you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly forever loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.